Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Slow Secrets. And today we're going to talk about lifestyle. I'm here with Sara Silverstein, and we met because I had invited her to the Slow Food and Yoga Festival, and one of my friends had said, "Oh my God, you have to have this amazing breathwork facilitator because she's just wonderful." So welcome, Sara.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a guest on our podcast. And tell us a little bit more about your story. Like, how did you roll into breath work? And you were obviously teaching in Bali, and now you are back in New York City.
Yeah, so my background is in anything but anything grounded in spiritual. My last job was in finance, and I was living and grinding hard in New York City. And my beloved long-term partner at the time turned to me and was like, "Babe, we're going to stay together. You got some work to do." So I listened and I got a coach, which I had religiously made fun of because I thought, why not just go see like a professional therapist and get your shit together? And before I knew it, I was, very deep into this beautiful, incredible coaching container with my teacher, Dana Balicki. And she had suggested that I check out Breathwork. And I told her to back off because I was already doing so much with her. I was like, I need go no deeper, ma'am. We are good. And then before I knew it, I was laying basically on the floor of someone's living room in Brooklyn, New York. And it was like this huge breathwork group. And it was the craziest experience that I'd ever been through. I had no idea what I was walking into. I don't Google things before I get into them because I don't want to have a judgment about it. And man, I would have had a judgment for sure, for sure. I rocked up in like my suit from work and my high heels, and I'm basically surrounded like with everyone who looks like they would be in Bali. And I was like, oh, I do not belong. Before I knew it, we're all laying down, everyone's having like these wild experiences around me. And I'm like, oh man, what I signed up for? Like, get me out of here, stat. And then I was like, man, I paid, I don't know, I think it was like $65 or something. And I was like, I might as well, get my investment. Like, I want the return on this. And always looking to, like, well, if I'm given, what am I getting back? Like, what does this look like? And so I was like, all right, I haven't actually tried this breath pattern. So I did it. I ended up having an out of body experience, super like beautiful cathartic release, and it was stunning. I walked out of there understanding what people were always talking about, like when they were really obsessed with yoga or anything else. I was like, it never made sense to me. I didn't get it. And then when I left there, I was like, oh, I got it. I got it. And it was wonderful. So I started practicing religiously about twice a week. And 6 months down the line, somebody had suggested I do a teacher training. I said, I'm booked and busy. Like, I have a very lucrative career. And then I was in the training and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I didn't really have any connection to my intuition at this rate, or to like universal source energy or anything of the sort. I was just like, I'm a very practical type A plus kind of gal, and I like to get shit done. And here I was devoting a lot of time and energy into this practice. And after I'd completed one of my trainings, I booked in a private, like one-on-one session for the evening of my graduation because I wanted to see if I was any good at this. And it was in that moment that I got to realize it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with the willingness of the individual who was coming in and the power of the modality. And I was just teaching a very simple practice that has the ability to transform your life. And from that moment on, I became a succubus for knowledge on all things breath related. I was interested in the nervous system and what was actually happening. Why was the body tingling? What was going on? Why couldn't we process trauma in talk therapy? Why did it have to coincide with a somatic healing? And then, I ended up burning out in finance. I left to travel the world. I ended up in Bali by chance. There was a hole in the market there. There's only a couple of humans doing breathwork at that rate. I have a very different flair, very intense kind of energy. And I thought, let's see if we can make it work. And before I knew it, I had a work visa and I started teaching. I think our first group at the Canggu studio in Bali had something crazy, like 50 people or something. Like, we fit so many bodies into that room. And my heart was so humbled, and I had finally found the sense of community that I had been craving for a really long time. And it was just beautiful to watch people come every Friday at 4 p.m. and, get wild with one another, create these friendship bonds, and just really transform their lives. So I ended up being there for almost 3 years, doing exactly this and loving every second of it until, if you've ever heard, Bali lets you know when she's done with you. She very kindly let me know that she was done with me, and it was time for me to come back to America. So now I'm back here bopping around, teaching, living, doing the thing, but ever so grateful that this is my journey.
Yeah. Bali has that kind of magic, eh?
It does. It does. I'd never known anything about ballet. Like, I was in Turkey before I got there, and I ended up there on a whim. And then I think 2 days in, I remember being on the phone with my pops, and I was like, I think this is home. And I was right, that it was like in Bali is where I really started to get that connection to my intuition, that like inner sense of knowing and actually trusting it.
Breathwork is magic. I had an experience like, so I was in the devastating earthquake, so huge trauma. And I have this constant need to save everybody. So
Mm,
so after the earthquake, I decided to do this charity festival, but on top of all the other things, it was just too much. And I met one of the facilitators on a beach somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and he looked at me and he was like, "You come with me now." And then he gave me a breathwork session on that beach. And I remember just also like completely connecting with myself. But then I was standing on this beach and I felt so alone. But then I kind of turned around and I saw that there were so many people behind me, like supporting me, and people from the island. And I understood in that session that was my path. It was my path to do this. And so I did this festival, which I just popped up in like a month and a half. I had no idea what I was doing. And we sold out immediately. And it was a huge success. And we did a second edition that same year. And yeah, that's the moment where that's the first time I tried breath work. But that's the moment where I made this beautiful deal with myself, and I felt like I was really like supported, like I was not alone. You're
mm,
very famous in Bali because a lot of
stop it.
people, it's true, it's true. So I went on this date, right? I go on this random date, and like, yeah, she's like, every Friday I go to Sarah's breathwork. And I was like, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
It's true. So anyway, for the people that are listening that have no idea what breathwork is, because I had no idea what breathwork was, maybe we could give them like a small introduction. Like, what is
Yeah.
breathwork in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a million different definitions out there, but for the style and for why I teach, it is basically an active form of meditation meant to bring about an emotional release. So for me, I'm someone who, like, I dated a yogi, I couldn't meditate. I hung out with monks, I couldn't meditate. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And when I finally found that when you focus in on your breath, your brain can't actually attach on to anything else. So it allows all of the to-do lists, the worries, the previous stuff to really kind of leave. And it ends up being like the neck down kind of healing. So I think we're all brought up in this world where it's like neck up, like we can think our way into anything, out of any situation, X, Y, and Z. But realistically, this active mind is a killer. Like, our bodies are so wise. And I had never been taught how to listen to it. And in my first breathwork experience, I had whole tingling sensation everywhere. I had different tightnesses in my body. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I started studying Chinese medicine and tying into the meridians and pressure points and all of that. So basically, the breath just allows the brain to shut up for a minute and the body to come alive and start to talk to you. So like for me, I'm always like, yo, it's just you coming home to you. People are always like, oh my God, thank you, thank you. I'm like, yo, nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me, everything to do with you. Like, you take yourself as deep as you want to go. If you want to have like a soft, fluffy kind of sensation and just keep it chill, then you can do that. If you want to go in and do like the deep work, that's available too. But that just requires, someone who knows what they're doing first and foremost. And secondly, that you can trust yourself and coming back to you and really starting to process that kind of trauma. So for me, I'd been in therapy for like 3 years, talking my mouth off, and I still felt like I had all this stuff with me. And that's because we carry trauma in our bodies. It is stuck in there. It's in our fascia. And again, we're not taught how to really deal with this kind of stuff, how to release it. So this is a somatic healing practice that can allow you to release stored trauma in your body from decades ago. So it's like you never know what's really going to come up to the surface. You got to be ready for it, but your subconscious is never going to take you down a path that you're not ready for. So just kind of leaning into yourself, understanding that the breath is like the tool, right? So it's like I think of it as like a little power tool. So it's like you turn that on and you use that and you're like, bam, there you go. And it starts to like break down all the stuff in the body, and just with the simple inhalation and exhalation, it's magical. Like most of us haven't been breathing properly our entire lives. The doctors that I studied with, they did a study and then they found that most people change how they're breathing when they're 5. So I had been, I don't know, over 2 decades away from being 5, and breathing incorrectly when I started to study this and learn this really. So there was a whole lot going on in here. I'd been stressing out my body in different ways. And it was like, man, like we stress about how important it is to like make sure we're working out, we're eating right, we're keeping good people in our circles, we got the support, but like if we just paid attention to our breath from a younger age, we will be golden. Like anxiety would be a joke, depression could be cured, but instead it's like we're holding all this in this body and not understanding that like we got all the messages, we got all the answers within here. Got it.
Very true. But we tend to put everything in a little box and forget it's there. That's what
For
I
sure, for
years,
sure.
for years I did that. And then yeah, one day that little box exploded on the table and I started
Ah,
I started finding ways to let
same.
go. I think letting go of what no longer serves you is like a really big one for me, and I really have to work on it, and I really work on it like every full moon, because I'm also not a daily practitioner. I wish I was, but let's be honest,
I'm
I'm
not either.
and,
I'm human. I'm human.
yeah,
I don't do anything daily at this rate. Like I ebb and I flow, and I think it's finding, like what is it that your body, soul, mind, and spirit need? What does it need in that moment? And sometimes it's breath work and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's sitting in quiet solitude and sometimes it's going out and being crazy with your friends. Like understanding what it is that you actually need. And I think like that's where we have that big break, like we don't understand sometimes. And like I often hear, especially in our communities, of like, well, we just need to let go what isn't serving us. Bitch, I didn't know that my entire life wasn't serving me when I got into this realm. All right, I thought I needed the 6-figure job, I needed the apartment, I needed the partner, I needed all of these
more,
things.
more, more.
And yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. But like, and for me, it was working. It was working. It wasn't broken. But I didn't realize that a higher state of joy and happiness was available to me.
exactly. I had the same, and I recreated exactly the same on the island. So I made a
Mm.
huge mini empire for myself. But then I want to say thanks to the earthquake and then thanks to COVID, which stopped everything again, I learned to listen to myself and to really be in tune with myself. And I think that has really changed my life. I think slowing down, which is the whole concept of, yeah, my life. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what I try to do. I put it everywhere so that I remember for myself, because I'm obviously not
Yeah.
you.
Well, I mean, I think COVID has taught us all the importance of the slow down medicine. I constantly go back and like all my clients are always like, oh, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to, where life resumes, bop, bop, bop. I'm like, what y'all not realizing is that it wasn't working. What we were doing wasn't working. So there's no going back to it. It's figuring out what needs to shift so you can actually thrive in this day to day now. But like, if you just want to pick up all the tools you had before, it's going to happen again. Like, we're going to have another reckoning. So we
Yes,
all better wake the heck up and pay attention.
yes, yes, yes. I mean, I can see here tourism has been paused for almost 2 years now, and I obviously live on an island which was living from tourism. So everyone has gone into this survival mode, but it's actually really nice. Everyone's found something else to do. Everyone's thriving in a different way, but definitely much less stress, burnout, depression, and all of that on this side of the world anyway, around me.
Not on this side of the world, man. I came back and I was like slapped across the face. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back home. It's gonna be good. But no. Oh my God. Like the reality of the experience that the people had, at least in New York, is so much more intense than I ever could have imagined. Like I had it cushy in Bali, like sure,
Yeah.
I went through one of the hardest breakups of my life. It leveled me, but man, COVID has leveled New York City. My close beloveds, their personalities have changed. They're in this constant state of stress. There is high levels of anxiety and depression coursing through them. They had so much time only by themselves without, and especially because there's no like universal healthcare in America, there weren't people who could like afford to go and talk to therapists or get the help that they needed, so they were just in their own brains by themselves. And I was in constant communication with people over here, but like I didn't know until I came back. Like I didn't realize how good I had it.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot even imagine like the whole lockdown process being put in a box, you know. For me, I'm like freedom is the most important thing of all. And I
Sure.
often think of people at home because at home it's also really bad. And I think it's really long now. It's like
Yeah.
we're rolling back into it and people are just they're just kind of done with it. Um, but yeah, I think I mean, everyone's working online now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like a huge shift for towards the future. Because now,
For
why
sure.
do I have to come to work? Like I've been working at home for the past few years. Like, why do I have to commute and be in traffic all day? And why can't I move to Bali and work from there? By
Yeah.
the time you go to sleep, I'm going to be working your whole night, and the next morning you wake up, everything's going to be done already. So we could actually shift into something different.
Yeah, if people are open-minded to it, but like like I mean, my dream was to work from home when I was in my office. Like I would do anything in my power, just stay at my house and work. And I met up with one of my old coworkers and she was like, oh yeah, like we're opening the office back up, like they're gonna be in 3 days a week. And I was like, for what? Like y'all have been running successfully for the last, year and a half. Like why are you forcing these people to do it? Like make it at least optional. Like of course, like there are the extroverts in the world who need that, who thrive on that. I'm an introvert, so I'd be fine at home. But I think there's a lot of new ways of thinking about how to, whatever, resume life or come back to it, whatever it looks like. But I think there definitely needs to be a bigger push as to paying attention to what do you need? What do you need to succeed and thrive? Like and honestly, like the higher ups, having them actually listen to the well-being of their coworkers or colleagues or whatever it happens to be, instead of kind of cookie cuttering all these things. Like I killed it in corporate America, I loved it, I was great at it, but like I know I'm way better in this realm. And had I been able to have the freedom to leave in the middle of the day when I was feeling burnt out to take care of myself, like man, I could have done so much more for that company. But like we're so used to this whole like we have to work X to X and do these things and get these deliverables in and bop bop bop. Like it's exhausting. Like it's time for a new kind of reality.
Yes, I agree. It's like we press people like lemons until they're completely dry.
Yeah.
That's why I really, and actually we actually do this to ourselves. Like I did this to myself over and over again. And what I really loved about working in wellness when I started doing the retreats and then the charity events and everything around transformation, which for me is kind of the purpose of life. It gave me so much more to myself, and that's value you can't put the price on. It's a whole
Definitely not.
type of value, but it's just like it makes you feel inspired, and yeah, you feel like you're breathing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you also rolled into intimacy because so I'm writing a trilogy. I don't know if you've seen. So the first one's on lifestyle, the second one's on intimacy, relationships, and the third one is on investment, kind of business, work on yourself, relationship with others, and then yeah, just follow your dream. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So kind of what I did. And I did this really nice class of yours online, which was called Breathgasm, which you did in together with your delicious. Oh my God, and I did this by myself in my bed, which was great because I, I was thinking, lucky I'm not like in an open space with many women because I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll be there one day, but and that actually really blew my mind. So I wanted
Yeah.
how that popped up.
Well, so Kristen, aka Yonilicious on Instagram, if you are into sexuality, female sexuality, trying to explore anything, go check her out. Like, she's changed my life. She's changed my life across the board. Like, she has taught me what true sisterhood is, and then she roped me into doing sexuality training with her, and I was like, girl, I don't need another thing on my plate. But she just kept talking about it. And I have a way of talking about difficult things with general ease because I don't know, I just don't care anymore. And so it's like the difficult conversations I can humanize. And I realized that there was an area for me in this realm of really stepping into it. So I started working with Kristen, and we did a yoni massage, which is an internal and external entire massage of your body. And I got to see like where my blockages in my internal yoni were. So I have a lot of sexual assault in my past, of not honoring myself, being dishonest, all of these things. And everything was stored on in there. So then I just fell into falling in love with understanding like what's happening in each of us. How do we start to talk about it? Like, why are women faking orgasms? Do they even know what their pleasure looks like? And Kristen was like, let's do an entire workshop based on breathing into orgasm. And I was like, can you do that? And then I was like, wait, constantly in my Friday class that we mentioned before, women were coming up to me afterwards being like, oh my God, like I had an orgasm. Is that normal? I'm like, first and foremost, fuck normal. Like, you just came in a room of 50 people. Like, yes, way to
Yes.
go. And you did it with your breath. We're like, what? That's incredible. So like I became fully obsessed with it. So then I was like started going down the whole of like trying out different breath patterns with partner, by myself, blah, 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 blah. And I realized I was like, man, like we are so powerful and so connected into our pleasure when we allow ourselves to get in there. So I mean, for me, I finally came out like when I was 30, and I said like I never had an orgasm with a partner. I'd faked everything always. And what a humiliating and humbling experience for myself, my previous partners, X, Y, and Z. I've had previous partners be like, why did you lie? And I was like, I'm a people pleaser. But then I got to realize like I didn't even know what pleasure looked like for me. I didn't know how I wanted to be touched. I had learned how to, use a vibrator when I was 16 and porn and just got to work, but I'd never taken time to really like soak in exactly who I am and my essence and understand like, oh, most of the time I was holding my breath. I was contracting my abdominals, like all of these things were going on. So how could pleasure actually have any sort of wiggle room to get in there? So I started paying attention to my breath and really getting into it. And I was like, oh man, this is magic. And like using your voice, allowing the vibrations from your own voice to go throughout your entire body and light you up, like, man, it is absolute magic. So Kristen was like, all right, I'll teach you, do the breath work, we'll have fun. And it's been an absolute honor and privilege to do any workshop with her. She is a wealth of knowledge. It is an honor to learn from her. I'm in her sexuality training right now. I'm probably the slowest student ever because I'm just slowly, taking all of this in, but starting to understand, the body in a deeper way is so beautiful, and understanding that like you can get yourself to orgasmic pleasure or just a deeper sense of pleasure with your breath is so cool. Like when I show my partners who I'm with, and I'm like, yo, like try this next time we're having sex, and they're like, oh my God, like it changed everything, or like they've had a non-ejaculatory orgasm. I'm like, yes, like there's so many things that we can do that we don't understand and we don't talk a lot about it. So being able to lead, I think we had like 60 women in on that one, how to breathe into orgasm. It was so cool. And also like to remove the idea like that the end goal is an orgasm, right? Like that should never be the end game in any sort of sexual experience. Like if it happens, great, cherry on top, but like pleasure, experiencing pleasure, leaning into that, understanding your body, using your voice, honoring all that, like that's where the good stuff is at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There is so much energy in sexuality, like with yourself,
sure.
and then it's the strongest one. It's really the strongest one. So to finish, maybe a favorite quote.
Oh man,
yeah, because I love your quotes. So
you're so funny. Okay, well, just to like build off of our sexuality vibe then. So there's my Angelou poem called Still I Rise, and she states, she dances like she has diamonds at the meetings of her thighs. And for me, like I got big old diamonds tattooed on my thighs after that. I love it. Leaning into that and being like, right, like I am this beautiful, sensual, incredible being, leaning into this, honoring my body, regardless of what shape it is or what you think it should be or X, Y, and Z. Like I
Yeah.
embody exactly who I am, and really, you know, leaning into the kind of worship of myself and any sort of sexual exploration with myself or with someone else. Like here for it. So celebrate exactly who you are, step into your own power, and watch how life can continue to unfold in front of you, because it is a magical experience.
Yes, agreed. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything
Please.
you'd like to add?
I mean, I feel like I could talk for 100 years. It is a strong suit of mine. But if you've never tried breath work and you're like, man, I'm interested in dabbling into it, everything I ever do is a beginner's class. You are so more than welcome. And I also love a sense of community. And since I've lost that since leaving Bali physically, I am still always available on Instagram or email or whatever it is. If you have questions, you want to connect in, like I'm your gal. I think it is difficult to make friends in adulthood, but the internet is a powerful, powerful place. So if you ever got a question, you want to jive, whatever it is, hit me up. I'm here for you. I'd love to walk hand in hand with you through breath work or just through life experiences, because shoot, we are all going through it.
And where can people find you?
On Instagram, my name is Sara Silverstein, no H on the Sarah. If you look up like Breathwork New York City Sara, like you'll find me quite easily, or sarasil.com. All the good things. It's SARASIL.com.
Thank you so much.
Please, thank you.
So much love from the island.
Back from New York.
I love New York.
Yay,
Bye.
amazing. All right. Bye, babe.